Okay, here's what I want to read you. This is what I'm going through in life right now. This is why I've been on the run. Because here, for those of you who did not read the 52-year death sentence to be in a slave labor, you tell me what you would do. You got two choices. Surrender yourself for 52 years to be a slave laborer for Social Security fraud and Medicaid fraud with 199 other innocent humans that WVU Medicine is sentencing? Or do you... It's a double-edged sword. And here's what I want to read you. Believe me, the end of this video, my head hurts from laughing so much at it. Crying, laughing. Stick with it to the end. But here, in the Circuit Court of Kanawha County, West Virginia, where the state capital is, order, State of West Virginia versus Zachary Allen Knott's defendant. Order for 15-day mental health facility examination to determine competency or criminal responsibility, or both. On the first day of December 2020, the state of West Virginia, by and through its via telephone, Christopher something and Monica Swartz, assistant prosecuting attorneys and defendant via telephone conferencing, and by and through his counsel via video conferencing, Deputy Public Defender John Sullivan, for an arraignment in the above captioned criminal case. That's the one where the skunkhead judge is on camera and forgets to wear her glasses with her dementia syndrome and is endangering the public with her bad breath, not having a face mask on. Whereupon the court attempted to arraign defendant on the charges in the superseding indictment, but defendant did not cooperate, spoke over the court and counsel, used profanity when addressing the court and counsel, addressing issues not relevant to the proceeding, was warned that he would be held in contempt of court for his conduct, and persisted in his misbehavior throughout the hearing. The court noted its prior attempt to arraign defendant on these charges during a hearing on November 19, 2020, but was unable to complete the process to similar conduct by defendant. America, precedential cases, the way to beat any felony in the earth, or any job that says you can't work because of a felony, you have to pull up the precedential case of the state of West Virginia and say, hey, I, the defendant, testify that I've completed hospitalization. I went to the emergency room last night. Case can be closed. You can get away with drug dealing, murder, any felony in America with taking the pleading and use the inbred hillbilly West Virginia judges' responses. That's why they need to be kicked out, fired. They violated the due process of law, the Constitution, everything. They're saying indictments in the United States of America no longer mean anything. Twice I've been there. And the fucked up West Virginia delegates, senators, and all them go and say, go get an attorney and try to help yourself. Read underneath here. Click on every link. It'll say description what it is. An attorney tried. And the West Virginia hillbillies that are operating this slave plantation, slave labor for Social Security fraud, Medicaid fraud, are not following laws in any way. It's why they're so corrupt. They need kicked out. Whereupon the court advised defendant that his behavior suggested that he may be suffering from mental competency issues. The judge is not competent. The one mentally competent, not knowing the rules of a courtroom and how they work. And the West Virginia Supreme Court twice has ruled that indictments mean nothing and pleading not guilty means nothing. Or guilty, it doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's why all of them need in prison and kicked out. Defendant responded with more profanity, speaking over the court and counsel, and continued discussing issues not relevant to the mental competency issue. Defendant stated that he would not cooperate with an evaluation of his mental competency. Wherefore, the court finds the defendant should submit to an initial forensic examination pursuant to the provisions of West Virginia Code 276A 2A. 3H, as in hell, is where they're trying to put me. The Dubac camp. The court further finds that defendant has expressed his intent to be uncooperative during the forensic evaluation, and the court finds there is no reason to believe that further observation and examination are necessary in order to determine whether defendant is competent to stand trial or is not criminally responsible for the crimes with which he has been charged, or both. Wherefore, according to West Virginia Code 276A2D or 276A4B or D, this court does hereby order defendant be admitted to the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital Social Security fraud, Medicaid fraud, designed by the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources for a period not exceeding 15 days. The attorney for the state is ordered to contact the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources Office of Health Facilities Statewide Forensic Coordinator, 304-269-1210, extension 443. To coordinate the defendant's arrival with the facility's ability to admit the defendant. Wherefore, this court further orders that counsel of record shall ensure that any information relevant to the evaluations is sent to the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital with defendant, including counsel for the state, a copy of the warrant and indictment, counsel for the state information pertaining to the alleged crime, including statements by the defendant made to the police, investigative reports, and transcripts of preliminary hearings, if any. What police reports? What investigative reports? The transcripts? How about that fucking dirty bitch says on page 95 she did this to another man, and what their intent of doing to me is locking me away for 52 years with WVU Medicine, sentencing me. This is going on in 200 people's names. And next, you're going to hear the man that she is saying has to deal with me and make a determination of where my body should be traded off for slave labor for fraud. This is a serious message through this video, but the end of it, if you listen until then, my head hurts and I'm still laughing from the way it sounds. I don't know how I did it. It was an accident, but it is well worth it. It says here, that's hard to read, the Sharp Hospital Extensive Medical something. And Sharp Hospital is medically coding people wrong and trying to steal more Medicaid funds. Defense counsel, any available psychiatric, psychology, medical, or social records that are considered relevant. Counsel for the state, a copy of the defendant's criminal record, and defendant's counsel if the evaluations are to include a diminished capacity assessment, the nature of any lesser included criminal offenses. Wherefore, this court further orders that counsel for defendant met with defendant and defendant's family and friends to prepare a list of mental health facilities and professionals from which defendant has received treatment, and forward that list to the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital prior to defendant's examination. This bitch here is threatening to call my family, harass my family. This is getting into my family now. Nobody in my family has freedom with people harassing them. Some woman from a southern mental hospital called my mother and started harassing her. This shit is fucking out of control, what they're doing right here. Something's got to be done to shut down this human trafficking operation. Then it says, Wherefore, this court finds that William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital may release this order to other mental health facilities and professionals for the purpose of obtaining defendants' mental health records. There is none. Court finds any mental health records requested by the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital are sufficiently relevant to the proceeding, wherefore the court, to outweigh the importance of maintaining the confidentiality established by the West Virginia Code 2731, this court further finds that good cause exists such that the public interest and the need for disclosure outweighs the injury to the patient-physician relation, and to the treatment services. What treatment services? It's in the public's interest to know that there is 200 humans right now that are slave laborers trapped in the state of West Virginia for Social Security fraud and Medicaid fraud, tax fraud. All these people are abused. It's sick and disgusting what they're doing, and somebody's got to stop it. And I am Saul. Wherefore, this court orders all facilities presented with this order to release defendant's mental health records to William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital, which shall use them specifically for completing the examination ordered herein. They medically coded me wrong to steal $895 a day in my life, sentencing me to the neuro-restorative in Ashland, Kentucky. Who the fuck goes to surgery or goes to therapies 11 years after an injury? You're released from therapy because you're fine. Occupational, physical, speech therapy. And these dumb bitches wanted to steal all this money in my name. They are medically coding people there wrong. Fraud everywhere is going on here for over $100 million a year profit to the state off sacrificing human lives that are innocent. And it says here, or the regional jail to transport defendant to William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital only after receipt of notification that the facility is able to admit defendant. The sheriff or regional jail shall ensure the defendant's arrival at the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital takes place between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. The Dubois camp is open at these times. The sheriff or regional jail shall forward transport order from the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital to the county or regional jail upon receipt of notification from the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital that defendant's observation and examination are complete. Wherefore, this court orders the defendant of Health and Human Resources Office of Health Facilities within 10 business days after the completion of the examination to forward the court the written report of the findings of its designated qualified forensic evaluator in triplicate, and that the clerk of this court distribute that report to the parties of record. The court notes the exemption of defendant to findings and orders contained herein, wherefore the court orders the clerk of the court to forward copies of this order to all councils of record and William Sharp Jr. Hospitals, 936 Sharp Hospital, Weston, West Virginia. And it's got this Judge Kerry Webster, who takes advice from a judge that died, Judge King. I am glad he is dead. He probably took the vaccine on December 28th and died from it, and the news ain't telling you that. But she's saying she took advice from him, and he shut down my lawsuit against the jail authority, where I paid an attorney $7,500. He signed an agreed order of dismissal of prejudice, and there is no signature of mine on there. And the inbred hillbilly Supreme Court judges got that case there right now. I've got more funny videos coming in. This here was prepared on December 1st, the same exact day Morgantown, West Virginia, where fraudulent WVU Medicine is, that gets away with all the Medicaid, Social Security fraud, slave labor, human trafficking that they want, is located. The same place, that county courthouse there, scheduled me on December 1st. The same day this hearing was, that you can click on the links below this and watch 1, 2, 3. The same day that went on is the same day they wrote a letter. December 4th, me and my best friend, President Trump, were so similar. You can go to my website, look at every likes that we've had. The Trump Towers was built in 1979, and you look at all my 1979s. Anyways, Trump's hearing was on that day, and my hearing was on that day. I was arrested walking into the courthouse December 4th, and they stamped that paper on the 1st, and it said January 4th. History repeats itself. I'm told through numbers, God speaks to man through moon and stars, which is numbers. You go there, the same thing's going to happen again. This says filed December 4th, but the hearing was on. Yeah, there's 3. December 4th. I just now noticed that. This is stamped December 4th of 2021. And that's crazy. December of 2019 was when I was arrested going into the courthouse, and now it's December 2020, and the same thing happens again. It's got the wrong years in there. Well, no, it would be December. Yeah, the first day of December. Okay, December 2019. I gotta stop that. Too many numbers. Okay, December 1st was the hearing in Kanawha County. December 1st, the letter stamped. December 4th of 2019, I was walking into the Kanawha County Courthouse arrested. And President Trump had it the same day, December 4th, and we're living the same lives in 2 separate states. And December 4th, 2020 is the day she stamped this one. They had it scheduled for January 4th in Kanawha County. Look at all the numbers are coinciding, everything. I paid the attorneys $7,500. In Morgantown, they set the bail at $7,500. And my house just sold for $75,000. Every single number's the same everywhere. That amazes me. The same day I was arrested is the same day my Supreme Court final order was. Farther
Forensic Services, John.
Hi, John Snyder. Is this you?
Yes.
John, in the state of West Virginia, you are the forensic coordinator. Means you're like the top person over all the forensic patients, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a standardized testing for competency in the state of West Virginia that every patient takes where there's proof they're not competent? Is there an actual test?
No, it's done by an independent evaluator.
Okay, and if there's no, is there a test for driver's or learner's permit? Is there a test for welding? Is there a test for nursing? Is there a test for paralegal school? Is there a test for truck driving? Yes or no to all those things?
Not even comparable, but how can I help you?
Is there a test to any certification on earth? Does every certification on the earth have a testing that you go through?
Mr. Knott, how can I help you?
Please answer that question. I'm testing your capacity, your mental capacity right now. Does every truck driving, welding, nursing, attorney, law school, anything have a test? Do all those have a test to it, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay, well then, how do you know if a person's competent if there's no testing? These WVU Medicine doctors are sentencing people there after they're arrested. Is that correct? The doctors are sentencing people there with no standardized testing. Is that what's going on,
No.
yes or no?
A doctor cannot sentence anybody. It's
A doctor, if there's no standardized testing, the doctor is... What? I'm trying to ask you questions.
You have an attorney. They need to do your questions
But
for you.
this is you. You're working on the front lines of holding all these fraud hostages. You know, I'm asking you the big question. If there's no standardized testing and these people have never been to jury trials, they're all innocent. The doctors are sentencing them. They are checking a box. How do you think the doctors are not sentencing these people if the doctor is the one who checks the box? Who do you think does? Like a ghost? A monster? Who does it that you think sentences these people into your hospital when they've never been convicted by we the people? They're all innocent humans there. None of them have been convicted by a jury. Who do you think sentences them there? Tell who you think sentences them there.
You need to contact your attorney.
I'm contacting you. You are the one that is managing, holding all these hostages there.
Well, what,
Who? Tell who is sentencing these people to your hospital after they're arrested. Who is sentencing them? WVU doctor or a monster in the bushes outside? Who is doing it? Who? I'm asking you a clear, easy to answer question. Do you have the mental competency? That's the question. You don't know what's going on day to day with this fraud operation. Who is sentencing the people? Answer the question.
Talk to your attorney.
No, I'm asking you, since you work there and you're the forensic manager, who is sentencing these people? Who?
Only a court can sentence anybody.
They've never been to the courts. They've never been to the courts. They go to WVU Medicine doctor, and that doctor checks a box, not competent, or writes the word not competent. Who sentences these people? Does
All right,
WV...
Mr. Knott, listen.
He will not answer. He is clearly incompetent. He should be in there being forced on drugs. He will not answer the question, so obviously you know who is right here in this situation. Go ahead, I'm going to give you one more chance to answer it. Who sentences
You need
these?
to contact your attorney.
I don't need no attorney, I'm asking you. You're there holding, abusing all these humans, injecting them with medications they don't want, and my life is being threatened right now to be in that position. I am taking threats, body threats, health threats, every threat, because I don't need to be there or want to be there, and you abuse people there, violating their human rights and their civil rights every day. And you're not even answering the question as to who sentences these people. You're saying a judge does. How does a judge sentence these people when they've never been in front of judges? The doctor is who they go to from WVU Medicine that checks a box.
Well, when you talk to your attorney, he or she will give us a call.
Since there is no standardized testing for competency, how do you determine if a person is competent? Please answer that one.
I have to go.
How do you determine if a person's competent if there's no test? Please tell me.
Please contact your attorney.
Obviously, he's avoiding this answer right here and looking like a fool because there's no answer. These people are all sentenced by WVU Medicine.
All right, Mr. Knott, I have to go now.
Please answer the one. Why can you not answer the questions? Because you don't want to tell the truth to the people that are listening? Should he be working, delegates and senators? Should you have this kind of man working that is not even competent enough to tell the truth of what's going on? He is lying. Is this good representation that West Virginia...
Mr. Knott. Have a great day.
How do you tell if a person is competent? What's your name again?
Hey, who is it?
What's your name?
Joey Garcia?
Okay, everybody says I should be calling my local delegates. So,
Yeah, I'm one of the 3 delegates here in Marion County.
I know you're brand new to it, but do you know how to start anything in the delegates the way it works? Like, if you have a good idea to start a bill or a law or something, do you know how to do that?
Yeah. I've worked in Charleston. I used to work for Governor Tomlin before I moved back to Fairmont.
Oh, yeah?
And I worked with legislation. I've drafted lots of legislation. So, I mean, what happens is the bills need to be introduced by a delegate or a senator.
Yeah.
And then from that period of time, it goes in front of basically in the House, the Speaker of the House will decide what committees it goes to, and then you have to try to see if you can get it on a committee agenda, and try to see, if they can amend it, they can do a lot of things, discuss it, and it has to be, voted out of the committees where they recommend it pass on the floor. On the floor, they take a vote on it, and then it has to go to the other house for the Senate then to do the same type of process in the 60 days that we have for the legislative session. That's basic how the process works.
Do you have any inside friends right now at the Supreme Court? Do you call the judges up there randomly and talk to them?
Not really.
Okay. Well then, all of them should be impeached right now. Can you start that bill for all the fraud that's going on, the things they're doing to me? I've been arrested 14 times before every single deadline of the West Virginia Supreme Court. There's major injustice going on right now.
What's your name again?
My name is Zachary Knotts. Do you know me?
How do you spell your last name?
Knotts.
Yeah, where do you live in Marion County?
West Side.
West Side, okay. So tell me a little bit about what's gone on where you talk about you've been arrested 14 times inappropriately. I mean,
here's who the witnesses are. Senior litigating council member of WVU Medicine twice. Senator Richard Lindsay, who had the last biggest medical malpractice lawsuit twice. The director of the committee that punishes people like you, attorneys and judges. When I was going to get the honorable child porn possession judge's records to show the public. And it goes from 1 felony to 9 felonies, and then I'm re-indicted and goes from 1 felony to 10 felonies and misdemeanors. It's all a big crock of shit. Do you believe, as a representative in the state of West Virginia, that hostages should be held for fraud, slave labor for fraud, human trafficking? Do you believe that should be going on, yes or no?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm wanting to just ask you basic questions and then get yes and no's, and then I'll go into the whole subject. That's my way of...
That's not how I do things.
Oh. Well, do you... Okay.
I'm not gonna... I mean, a lot of stuff you're saying already. I mean, I have a lot of respect. I practice in front of the Supreme Court and judges around here.
Okay, should a felony come to an end? Should a felony in the United States of America, should there be a disposition of an indictment? If you plead not guilty, should you be either found guilty, not guilty, dismissed, administrative dismissal, or acquittal?
Normally, the way the law works, if it's a felony that you're charged with, you have such a period of time for a trial to happen. There's a speedy trial provision, I believe, in the Constitution. And normally that's a year old, though. I know it's different. I think there may be some things with coronavirus because of some delays, but that's normally how it works.
Everybody in the United States of America that's ever charged with a felony can pull up a final order and it says one of these things: guilty, not guilty, dismissed, administrative dismissal, or acquittal. There is nothing else. After you plead not guilty, it has to say one of those things, correct?
I don't know that. It depends on if you had a hearing in front of a judge. Again, criminal law is not what I do mostly.
Okay, well, that is the way it goes. I pled not guilty, but a judge never sentenced me. West Virginia is doing what is called political abuse of psychiatry. The Soviet Union did this in the 1960s, diagnosed everybody that wanted their civil rights with sluggish psychosis, put them in a camp, and killed them. The state of West Virginia is running a major fraud operation right now. Chapter 27 of West Virginia law, look that up. It's about competent and incompetency. In the state of West Virginia, there is no such thing as a standardized testing for competency. I've got WVU Medicine recorded saying this. I've got employees inside of Sharp Hospital not understanding what's going on. I'm a victim. Should there be in the United States of America and in the state of West Virginia, should there be a medical record to back up an $818,000 medical bill? Yes or no?
I would assume there is.
Of course. If not, I want to know where I can set up, you being a legislative person, a fraud shop myself. I was held hostage and abused and tortured every day for 3 years. Never gained anything. There is no consent to see me. And the West Virginia DHHR is funding a major fraud operation. Where is this at?
It sounds like somebody did somebody do a mental hygiene petition?
No. If you're charged with a criminal charge in the state of West Virginia, they have a big fraud operation going on that needs to stop. What happens is a judge just says, oh, you need a competency evaluation. How are you to be determined?
That can happen.
How are you to be determined competent and incompetent if there is no such thing as a standardized test that you take? There is nothing's even in existence.
Buddy, that's not how it works.
I'm a victim of this whole thing, and you're telling me it doesn't work that way. I was held for 3 years. A doctor walked in a room and said, spell world backwards. I did it. Are you going to sue prosecutors? No. Tell me why you got in trouble. Just tell me about circumcision. Tell me about it. I said I don't talk about that no more because the director of Sharp Hospital said if I talked about it, I would fail the competency evaluation. And I said, you know Rusty Cox, right? The director of social services? Yes. I said, well, he told me not to talk about it in this evaluation or I would fail. And she says, oh, I see here you wasn't even putting in the competency class. I'm not going to waste my time asking you those questions. And she failed me, and for 3 years, I was a slave laborer for fraud. West Virginia DHHR funded an $818,532.80 medical bill, and there's no record to back up anything. WVU Medicine recorded this, and there's no recording in existence. They can't find that record anywhere. I watched her pull out a recorder and set it in the room, and they don't even have this recording, and yet they got away with torturing my body, forcing me on drugs that I didn't want, didn't need, sold when I got out of Sharp Hospital because I didn't want that garbage in my body. And there's no medical record, and they're getting away with all this fraud. Should this be going on? There's hundreds of hostages that WVU Medicine is sentencing. They're not even getting a jury trial. They're pleading not guilty. And they're getting nowhere after WVU Medicine walks into a room with no standardized testing involved and checks a box or writes the word not competent or incompetent to stand trial. They're in there for the maximum of whatever they were charged with. And if you look up the case law in West Virginia called West Virginia v. Bias, it's a 1979 case. It says that it's not to be a sentencing and every 6 months you're to get retested. How can you pass a test if there is no such thing as a test you take? This is a fraud operation that is going on. If you really believe there's a competency evaluation, I want you to find it and show it to me.
So I don't know that there's anything, based on what you're telling me, I don't know that there's anything I can help you
Well, here's
with.
where I can tell you to go see all the evidence. I put the evidence on a website and on my YouTube channel. My website is called wvcourtcorruption.com. There needs to be an impeachment started in the state of West Virginia. You are my local delegate. I am coming to you for the help that you are to be providing to the people. I was arrested before.
I have to provide all the people with, and not just one or two.
Okay, well, all the people pay taxes, correct?
On this.
All the people.
No, here, let me finish.
Go ahead.
And I'm not going to do any type of impeachment legislation and whatnot. I'm not going to do
Well, how do I get you removed from office since you don't want to protect all the people that are in Marion County, all the people that pay taxes?
I disagree with that course of action.
What course of action? Which one?
Try one of the other delegates. Maybe they'll help.
Does everybody in Marion County pay Medicaid taxes? Everybody that has a job, are they paying taxes, yes or no? Wouldn't you want to protect those people?
Sir, I disagree with the course of action. That's my right to do that.
So you think that fraud should be going on?
And I don't need to answer a whole bunch of questions.
One thing I would like to know, since you...
If you can talk to somebody else if you think that maybe one of the other delegates will help you. Okay?
One thing I would like to learn, since you said you were experienced in this kind of stuff, is West Virginia get money from Washington, D.C. for the DHHR Medicaid services to pay for all these hostages that are being held there? Is that where the funding comes from? Or is it state level only?
You're making these comments that I don't think are accurate.
What comments? It's right there on my website. I know you lie for a living. I know you're an attorney and you lie for a living. That's your duties and your jobs as an attorney.
All right. Well, then you tell me I help you.
Send me right back to him. I'm going to tell him where to go to see his own conversation. He didn't even hear me out to where I recorded the whole thing. And I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. He lies for a living. He's an attorney.
Injury Law, Dakota speaking. How can I help you?
Were you about to transfer me? It sounded like a click. I heard a little click.
I'm sorry. Who's calling? I didn't pick up the phone the last time.
Oh. Transfer me back to the Joseph man.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name is a resident of Marion County that he is supposed to be representing, but he is accepting. He says that things I say don't sound right. He is incompetent himself to not understanding the laws in West Virginia they have made up to run a fraud operation. He's acting like I'm the liar, and he needs corrected. He says that he wants fraud labor, slave labor for fraud going on. They're stealing probably $100 million a year.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name is a resident of Marion County that he is supposed to be representing, but he is accepting. He says that things I say don't sound right. He is incompetent himself to not understanding the laws in West Virginia they have made up to run a fraud operation. He's acting like I'm the liar, and he needs corrected. He says that he wants fraud labor, slave labor for fraud going on. They're stealing probably $100 million a year. That bitch hung up.
Hello?
Who is this?
Is this Zach Knotts?
Who are you?
Is this Zach Knotts?
I can't remember my name.
Well, then you need to remember to quit calling here.
What is your name?
Is Tim Manchin.
I called for the services that my delegate is to be doing in the state of West Virginia.
I'm not a delegate in the state of West Virginia.
I know, and I just talked to the one, and he called me a liar, and he didn't really... He said what you're saying doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
I'm putting it out there for the public to read. I know that you're a criminal.
I have instructed you on multiple occasions.
Well, I am calling my representative. I am calling my representative. I am calling the person that represents me.
That is not his official telephone number. And that
Well, where do you get...
Where do you... does not have to talk to everybody.
So
Okay?
he gets
Especially
paid.
if you are not reasonable, and you're not.
I am not reasonable. I recorded the conversation.
Do
We know you're an animal. You threatened me in the last video. You threatened me in the last video.
Do I need to call the police on you? I don't want to do that. I know you got problems.
Well, then why are you not helping me? Why are you not?
I can't allow you to continue to simply believe you have unlimited access to this office during business hours.
It says that he works there.
You are not invited.
It says that he's a representative.
I instructed you on numerous occasions.
It says that he works there, and I didn't know where else to get a hold of him and try to get him to do his duties that he has to do as a representative.
He has spoken with you,
and I wanted him to know. I wanted him to know where the conversation is going.
Listen, he does not have to sit on the phone with you for a half hour. He doesn't have to sit on the phone with you for an hour. He doesn't have to sit on you for 1 minute, to be honest with you.
Well, I just wanted him to know where the conversation's gonna go.
You have a vote. You can go vote against him next time if you're not happy with it.
And he has to. How do you get him removed from office? How do you get him removed?
Stop calling here.
How do you get him removed? How many signatures?
I want to tell you right now.
I'm asking for a legitimate question.
Again.
How many questions?
Again, I'm calling the police.
Do you think police scare me? Do you think police really scare me?
You really want the police to come get you again?
They don't scare me.
Stop you. Believe me, you're not going to keep bothering using my...
I am not. I wanted him to know where the conversation's going to go. Please tell him.
If you call again, I will take action. Do you understand?
Will you please tell him my YouTube channel name so he knows where his voice is going to be heard?
I want you to simply stop calling here.
I want you to simply tell the man where his voice is going to go.
You do not have the right to do what you're doing.
Why do I not? I want to show the public how dirty you people are.
Just contact anybody you want. When they tell you to stop, you have to stop.
He didn't tell me stop. He said that none of what you're saying sounds right and hung up.
And I'm telling you right now,
look at this animal here. He's related to Joe Manchin, who America is threatening you right now as a Democrat.
Goodbye. Do not call here again or I'm calling him. I want to warn you.
Well, please write down my YouTube channel so you can know where you're being heard.
No more. Stop.
Please write down my YouTube channel. What a sick man. He thinks police scare me. That's what's wrong with this world. People show fear. You have to show no fear. What is a person supposed to do to save their own life, to save their own health, to save their own future when you're being put under threats by your own government, threatening your life? And there is 200 people, or more than 200, right now in the state of West Virginia that are nothing but slaves, slave laborers for fraud. You go to the FBI in Clarksburg, West Virginia, and you have a meeting, and all that Ashley Aldridge does is sucks the dick of the federal judge Matthew Alloy, whose children deal drugs and make him rich. That dirty bitch right there. I went to that FBI agent. She did nothing. She didn't take any paperwork from me. She didn't make any copies. She didn't go investigate nothing. I sent papers to the West Virginia Inspector General's office. They did nothing. I sent papers to the West Virginia Medical Board. They did nothing. I sent papers to the West Virginia Legislative Claims Commission. They've not even responded yet. What does a drug dealer do? Does he front somebody dope? Does Judge Alloy's children front people their opioids that they sell in the streets and heroin and meth, and they don't bring them back money? What does a drug dealer do? Does a drug dealer open the doors of his house and let people come in there and steal his money? Does drug dealers open the doors and let people come into his house and steal his drugs and his personal property? What is a person to do if the government of the state of West Virginia is making laws to hold 200 slave laborers? And Supreme Court of the state of West Virginia is having meetings to kill you, meetings to false imprison you, and the West Virginia Office of Disciplinary Counsel and the West Virginia Judicial Investigation Commission, Rachel Cipollati, is to be taking away license from people, not taking away the lives of citizens in the state of West Virginia. The Attorney General of the state of West Virginia needs disbarred in the state of West Virginia and needs to be sued. He is to be representing the state of West Virginia. There is no way a West Virginia agency inside of the Capitol should be out there representing themselves. It does not work that way. What is a person supposed to do? A drug dealer gets better justice serving street justice than the courthouses in the state of West Virginia that are holding 200 slave laborers right now, stealing their Social Security funds, stealing Medicaid tax funds and all these people's names, abusing their bodies every day. A woman in Fairmont, West Virginia, starved herself to death before going back as a slave laborer again. 2 months ago, I had 4 dreams where I woke up scared, woke up crying. It's not helpful, and the government's threatening you. What are you to do? Are you to leave 200 people there in the pain and suffering that you are in to this day from the way you were abused? When you rely too much on governments, this is what happens. There is 200 slave laborers right now trapped, being abused. 200 American citizens. And they all know what's going on. And they do not want to stop it. I'm getting ready to push the Social Security fraud operation, Medicaid fraud, human trafficking operation into federal courts. That means I've done everything I can. Everything. And you're living in a state where the Attorney General's wife is the biggest drug lord in the state of West Virginia. She lobbies opioids all over the state, kills thousands of people a day, and the Attorney General of the state of West Virginia goes out and sues the opioid companies that produce the pills that his wife sells all over the state of West Virginia, and he does not sue his own wife. And she probably lobbies dope to this facility, abusing and hurting 200 slave laborers. The FBI, worthless, ineffective agency Ashley, she should have taken down this information and went in there and seen that there is 200 humans being abused. What the state of West Virginia is doing is running the colleges just the same as the Nazis did. The Nazis, the newbies, went to the worst Holocaust camp there was, taught them how things is done, and then sent them out to the other ones, the Dubach place. And that's what they're doing with Fairmont State University. They take the nurses there and they put them in Fairmont General and they bring them out to the Sharp Hospital where they're training these nurses. This is the way you tackle people. This is the way you hold people down, restrain them, shove needles in their bodies that don't want any drugs in their bodies. This is real. One man, Alan Carlin, the attorney in Morgantown, West Virginia, sued Sharp Hospital for $3 million. Staff beat one man so bad he had a brain injury. This shit is going on every day. I am not going to, even if I'm paid all the money on the earth, I am not going to walk away and leave 200 other people there being hurt and tortured every day because WVU Medicine is running a big human trafficking operation. And all the other delegates in the state of West Virginia that have heard my voice, this is what happens when you call the Manchin law firm, who is related to Joe Manchin, that forges his daughter's degree to get a job paying $13 to $19 million a year. I hope I had some responsibility for having that place there shut down, because it did not shut down before my video. It shut down after my video. I hope that got up into the hands of somebody. Look how sick and despicable these people is, like I said in one of my other videos. That dirty fucking bitch that makes $13 to $19 million a year paid my neighbor Joe when he worked at Papa John's $2 to deliver 20 or 50 pizzas or something like that, a huge number. And lady who is friends with the woman who starved herself to death in Fairmont, you're subscribed to my channel. If you watch this one, put her name underneath it here, and I can prove this happens. People were killing themselves before going back to this slave labor for fraud operation in the state of West Virginia. If anybody has a comment of what I should do underneath here, you put it down. You go to the state police in the state of West Virginia, they don't do nothing. They harass and collect, not serve and protect. This, like an 11-year-old girl in the state of West Virginia, the CPS in Randolph County knew that she was being abused by her father. They put her back into the house with her dad, and she got pregnant by her own father. And the state police is like, oh, CPS are real good people. We ain't gonna go arrest them for nothing. And they knew this was going on. When people relies too much on their governments, this is exactly what happens. Let's see if the D-Boys, if all the other gangs tolerate this kind of shit with people coming in and stealing their lives, threatening them and all this, and not paying them. You go, D-Boys. I support you, because as far as I'm concerned, you're like the exterminators of the state of West Virginia. Getting rid of all the people that shouldn't be around with fentanyl. The other thing I will add is that every single female involved and every single man involved, education is more destructive to the human brain than an actual physical injury is. I hate when any dirty motherfucker says that my brain injury caused me problems in life. How fucking dare them say that? My life was great in 2010. 26 years old, $54,000 in my pocket. I felt great. I was getting high on the best drug on earth called money. Every single Friday I was getting higher, and all I did was want to get higher. Because everybody that's worked on a ship knows that there's only 3 subjects: sex, money, previous sea stories. It's all you talk about on there. Because when you go into a port, everybody's like, I used to work for them, they pay that much, they pay that much. Fuck this place, I'm out of here. I did that one time. I went through 7 airports in one day for $130 a day, and I went from New York, my bag got left there, spent the night in a motel, went from there to LaGuardia Airport, got on a tugboat, went from there up to Boston, Massachusetts, and when I got there, I said, fuck this place, I'm out of here, because I was only making $130 a day, and I was having to go back onto the concrete barge to the house, take food from them to the tugboat I was on. There wasn't even no food, and I put the water onto the tugboat from a concrete plant. As I was starting to drink out of the sink, the engineer says, I wouldn't drink from that spigot if I was you. Why? You just don't do it. He knew the tanks were bad on that ship, and I started drinking the emergency water, and the captain started bitching at me for that. I said, fuck this place, I'm out of here. I had a job lined up in Louisiana and went right to it. And first I stopped at the best strip club ever in Boston, Massachusetts. The girls were picking the money up off the table with their ass. Pretty entertaining. And that captain, as I was walking away with my bag, you're gonna leave us, I said, yeah, fuck this place, there's better places in Louisiana and higher pay, and I can go there. And I had full intent of becoming an unlimited horsepower engineer. I was already starting to work my way up to a designated duty engineer, 4,000 horsepower. I'd taken my QMed classes, just needed 90 days sea time in order to get my QMed license, and the dirty fucking corrupt judges of the state of West Virginia would not let me go work on a ship to get my 90 days for my endorsement. And then you got these dirty fucking educated fools of West Virginia to say that my brain injury hurt me. I haven't been living that high life in 11 years. For the past 11 years, I could have been making $700, $1,100 a day pay. But why work for $700 when you can make $1,100 a day with an additional 14-day education? A man who has never read one day in his life is smarter than a man who has read all his life. The only thing else I will hear before you hear these corrupt, dirty fuckers next is that no country female, no uneducated female would ever think this way. It's all the educated ones' lives and minds that are more fucked up because of the indoctrination of stupidity. And I hope I'm not sexist here, but every single witness, female, 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 every person that is in the position that should be doing something, the investigator for the medical board, female, the Office of Disciplinary Counsel Director, female, the Judicial Investigation Commissioner, female, the doctor that stole the money in my name, female, the statewide forensic coordinator at the time was Pam, female, the attorney general that was appointed to do my case, female, and the WVU Medicine senior litigating council member that's been plotting out all this stuff to keep their fraud operation open, female. Female judges, female persecutors. There's no men playing bad into this whole thing. Except the comparison is unbeatable here because females think they can show an ass and their tits all their life, and that's what gets them. That's why the female Muslims have to wear show in the eyes only, because the men knows they're so seductive and can try to get what they want. They are far more demonic than any other human is. And that's all. And the female, there is a female inspector general right now, but every single person involved is a female. Almost. The ratio's like 98% of the corrupt ones are females. They don't give no fuck about 200 people being abused, tortured every day. Something's got to be done. I got better morals. If it comes to the last resort, I can't live with myself leaving 200 people in pain there, being tortured by the government of the state of West Virginia. Video, and all of a sudden this guy in there, I'm talking real serious. Listen to this, it's so funny. I'm trying to hold a straight face. I don't know how I made it, I just accidentally did it.
Just a little bit. You'll see the tow truck come. There's a corrupt city police officer. Yeah, we'll steal that vehicle. It sucks I couldn't get part of my $10,000 here today cash. And there's the corrupt, one of the corrupt bailiffs. That's not the one, female that did the false accusation, false police report. But, you know, the more false, fraud, wrongful things you do in the state of West Virginia, the more you're appreciated. If you need to start doing Social Security fraud, move here. My federal case will be case law that Social Security fraud is legal for governments to do, if they do not rule in my favor. There it goes. Something interesting I can tell you guys, good to know, is go to Napa. Some of them have spray cans at $20, $25 for spray paint. Say you haul out your car. Fix it yourself. Now, John Wrong, John Right, where is the evidence that I am driving any vehicle? You say you're not trying to hurt me, or you didn't sell your soul to the state with doing evil, corrupt things as persecutors do on a daily basis in the state of West Virginia, highest felony conviction rate state in the nation, most corrupt state in the nation, fattest state in the nation, poorest state in the nation, highest drug abuse rate. We're the worst of fucking everything in red hillbilly West Virginia. It's why I don't have trouble getting jobs all over the country. When you say you're from West Virginia, you're done. You gotta say you're from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to get looked at with any respect. Tons of you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Oh, yeah, finish your licenses and we'll get you a job right now, or yeah, next week we got a job starting. Whole different attitude. And this kind of corrupt shit here is what makes us look even worse.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Just a little bit. You'll see the tow truck come. Here's corrupt city police officer. Yeah, we'll steal that vehicle. It sucks I couldn't get part of my $10,000 here today cash. And there's the corrupt, one of the corrupt bailiffs. That's not the one female that did the false accusation, false police report. But, you know, the more false, fraud, wrongful things you do in the state of West Virginia, the more you're appreciated. If you need to start doing Social Security fraud, move here. My federal case will be case law, but Social Security fraud is legal for governments to do. If they do not rule in my favor. There it goes. Something interesting I can tell you guys, good to know, is go to Napa. Some of them have spray cans at $20, $25 for spray paint. Same color as your car. Guess it yourself. Now, John Wrong, John Right, where is the evidence that I am driving any vehicle? You say you're not trying to hurt me or you didn't sell your soul to the state. We're doing evil, corrupt things as persecutors do on a daily basis in the state of West Virginia. Highest felony conviction rate, state in the nation. Most corrupt state in the nation, fattest state in the nation, poorest state in the nation, highest drug abuse rate. State in the nation, highest STD rate, state in the nation. We're the worst of fucking everything inbred hillbilly West Virginia. It's why I don't have trouble getting jobs all over the country. When you say you're from West Virginia, you're done. You gotta say you're from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to get looked at with any respect. Tons of voices change. As soon as you say you're from West Virginia, nothing right now. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Where are you from? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Oh, yeah, finish your licenses and we'll get you a job right now, or yeah, next week we got a job starting. Whole different attitude. And this kind of corrupt shit here is what makes us look even worse.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
State rate, state in the nation, highest STD rate, state in the nation. We're the worst of fucking everything inbred hillbilly West Virginia. It's why I don't have trouble getting jobs all over the